Welcome, everyone, to the danjohnuniversity.com podcast. This is episode 100, and I'm just going to stop for a moment and high five myself. Self high five. Wow. Um, Not long ago, I was talking with Pat Flynn about this kind of stuff, podcasts and online stuff, and we had kind of an interesting conversation. And he told me an interesting thing. Most podcasts only go to 7 episodes. And I thought, no way. I just thought there's no way. They've got to go more than that. I mean, and then I started looking into it. In fact, a couple that I follow don't even make it to 7. And these are good ones. These are like public figures with investigative reporting, and and I can understand that if you're doing a thing on some kind of crime show or something like that, where there's a start and a finish, and I could say, okay, so whatever. But a lot of people ask me for advice, and as I gracefully go into my silver years, maybe it's a good time to ask. And they'll ask things like, how do you do it? How do you, I tend to have a lot of followers. My books sell really well. My workshops go really well. Big followings. And truthfully, and this is from the heart, none of that means a thing. It doesn't mean a thing. When I go on Instagram and I see who has big followings, very often, well, I don't know how to say it without being unkind to the people, but a lot of it has to do with plastic and filters on the phones. I'll just say it that way and we'll move on. I started online in 1998 and everything I did was free. And my big break, of course, came in this field at the Charlie Staley boot camp, where I met Pavel, and of course Chris Schugert famously made a big deal about me in T Nation Testosterone magazine, and there we go. But what I think, if there's one thing you can learn from me, and I don't think it's not being at the right place at the right time. It's not. I'm going to talk about this again. I don't believe in putting all those initials behind my name. It does crack me up when someone will send me an email and they'll have like 20 different sets of letters behind their name, and they're all like half day or 1 day certs. It's like, you're not an expert on the nervous system if you go to a 1 day cert. That takes 2 days. But to get to 100 podcasts, I've had to sit down, literally now all over the world in the podcasts. You might not notice that sometimes, but sometimes you'll see that I'm obviously in a hotel room. This is my office right now. And sometimes you might notice that the backgrounds are a little different. But to get to 100 means that, week in, week out, I show up, I answer questions, I interact with you, my very wonderful audience. And it's kind of rule number one of being successful, and that's show up. I first wrote down this list: show up, don't quit, ask questions. When I read it in a magazine in 1996, I put that in my newsletter, my old newsletter, the one I did for when I was an administrator, that we did when I was an administrator. And it's interesting because someone said I stole it from them, which is interesting because the person who said that, there would have been no possible way that we could have interacted until about 2012. So how I wrote something in 1996. This is like one of those movies, like, Tom Cruise, where he goes back in time a lot of time, or Arnold, where he keeps showing back up. Yeah, that's what happened. But, showing up, man, that's always been my success. I talk about it a lot in my life. I won the nationals in an event one time years ago, and someone said to me, the officials are still out, they're still, rolling up the tape and cleaning up the stuff. And someone said, well, if X were here, you had a real struggle. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is the national championships. If X was here, I would have, didn't show up. So in a sense, what I like to do right now, I'd like to salute little Danny John for showing up 100 times. But I'd also like to thank you, the audience, and all of you fine people who have asked the questions. For those of you who have asked me questions during all kinds of different times, man, you guys have made my life better in so many ways. It is a joy to go to different places on our planet and have someone come up and say, "Hey, are you Dan John?" And yeah, and then we'll start to talk. And very often when I meet somebody who's a lifter, even though it's Wales or Scotland or Korea, this very funny story in Sweden when someone from Poland saw me, um, to meet up with someone in Sweden from Poland. I'm from America, and them to recognize me and come up. And our conversation was stilted because I only know like 3 words in Polish. I know dobra, which is good, shinka, which is pig or pork meat, and discus, which is discus throw because it's always the same. Fascinating conversation, but we did our best to communicate, and that's what I love about doing this. It is great to have this opportunity to share all this stuff with people I probably will never meet. And whenever I talk like this, everyone who knows me knows where I'm heading, and really, I'm heading to thank. Last weekend, July 3rd is a special day in my life. That's of course it's my parents' anniversary. They got married during World War II, and thank you to all those people who sacrificed so much for freedom and decency. It's July 3rd is also the anniversary, the 15th this year, of Coach Ralph Maughan's death. And of course, Coach Maughan, Dick Notmeyer, Bob Lahati, Dave Turner, and so many other coaches have impacted me so much, and there's just no way I'll ever be able to thank them enough. And so I think in so many ways, my willingness to do these podcasts is based on my attempt to thank those fine people in my life who changed everything. I'd like to give a special shout out, and I don't know if she'll ever know this, but I want to thank my sister Corrine, who was one of the few people who actually believe in me, and she still does today. When I was young, and my brothers would just incessantly, constantly pick on me for not being a good enough athlete. And I look back now and I think, well, Gary, he was 8 years older than me. We're playing games in the street. I'm 8 or 9 years old, and he can drive, and he's, I look at my grandson Danny now, and that's me playing street football with high school and college kids. Yeah, I wasn't that good. But my sister Corrine would take me aside and tell me one day I was going to be tall and I would be a good athlete. And she was right. She was right about everything. She supported me 100% in my dreams. She's the only person I told that I wanted to go to Utah State to be a discus thrower, because literally so many people in my life, and I say this a lot, would just have pissed on that dream. Well, I did it, and right here is a wonderful thing from my school that reminds me every day not only about how great it was that I tried so hard, but it was nice to have someone like my sister support me. My sister Corrine still supports me to this day, and I would be remiss if I did not mention her, because when I came home, she was 7 years old, and she took care of me, and I am now a little bit older than 7, than a newborn, and she's still helping me out. So first off, let me thank all my mentors, my coaches, my friends, those who've supported me all these years, my athletes who've been often the best support system I have. There's so many people to thank, but I did want to mention Corrine, because you might miss her in my work. And here at Podcast 100, I thought this would be a good time to thank her. Thank you. And thank you, gentle listener. And let's get to your questions. We have a question from Gordon. Gordon says, I'm 52 years old, and I've been lifting weights since I was 12. Well, take a day off. Probably during the whole time I was lifting weights. Okay, I tried to make that funny, but it didn't work. The pandemic forced me to work from home, And all those extra hours seated at my computer led to a severely pinched cervical nerve. Wow. It's funny, at workshops, I was one in England, and I mentioned that I think working on a computer too long does cause problems. But there's this whole group of, I don't even know what the hell they are. They're either wannabe chiropractors, they hate the work of Yanda, and as nice as I can say it, screw you. Yanda was a visionary. But these guys are convinced that the work of Yanda is worthless. And the interesting thing is, at the next day, when I called one of the guys out for critiquing me, the person didn't have the courage to let me know who they were, raise their hand, or say anything. You gutless son of a gun. I have stronger words for you. But hey, if you're going to criticize me in public, criticize me. But, we'll move on. For 5 weeks, the only resistance training that I could do was strap a belt around my waist and drag a weighted sled forwards and backwards, combined with 30 seconds hangs from the chin-up bar. Gotta tell you, Gordon, walking with the sled and hanging, that's a great combination. I gotta tell you, this is gonna sound funny, but Stu McGill calls injuries a gift. This is one of those times where I read this and I'm like, yeah, injuries are a gift. I mean, that is a fabulous workout. I haven't read on yet, but I can tell you this: good things happen because you did what you could do, and number two, you had two good options: walking with a sled and hanging. To my great surprise, I did not lose any lean body mass over that 5-week period. If anything, my overall body composition actually improved. God, I'm just so happy you sent this in. Have you had any similar eureka training discoveries that happened as a result of injury? Gordon, my brother, loaded carries. On the cover of Never Let Go, and it'd be nice if I had a copy somewhere. I think I have one. I think there's somewhere out there. When you look at the cover, you'll see I'm carrying a bag with the sled behind it. But you probably don't notice is I have a glove on this hand, but I have a cast on this hand. My doctor told me I'd never lift weights again. And so I started doing these loaded carries. And thank you, Mike Rosenberg, because Mike was the one that really convinced me that I could improve my grip strength with heavy weighted bars. So he sent me out a set of farmer bars and a set of thick handled farmer bars, which I'll go to my death thinking that was the best thing I could do for my rehab. So yes, first, loaded carries, by far. Number two is original strength. As you may or may not know, I was born with a condition called pistol grip hips. And from the day I was born, I was sentenced to having total hip replacements. And I loved the work of Tim Anderson and his original strength. But it was in my rehab of doing those 6-point rocks that, so loaded carries, and then the original strength series, which I just did, I don't know, as we speak, an hour, 45 minutes ago. Those would be the two big ones from injuries. But honest to God, what you're telling me here is, so basically you and I are walking the same walk, because if you look at original strength is loaded carries is original strength. And the longer I do both of these, the harder and harder it gets for me to separate the two out. Gordon, thank you. I can't think of a better way to start off the 100th episode of this podcast than with that question. Thank you, my friend. We got a question from Ben. Ben, I have just finished reading the Hardstyle kettlebell book. Well, thank you. I wrote that, and very few people read it. And I've added goblet squats with a light kettlebell into my warm-ups. Ben, welcome to the show. Yeah, I've been recommending that now for, a long time, but it's great. I can't believe how much this actually got me warmed up, but also exactly as per your book, my abs felt work the next day. Yeah, so the goblet squat, holding it out there, makes it, I call it anaconda strength because, it's a stupid name. Actually, the biggest reason is because it got an A in it. And I was talking about, the three different kinds of stone strength, and that is armor, arrow, and anaconda. And I love alliteration. I love alliteration. Oh, that's kind of funny by itself. Thanks for that. Separate question. What are your thoughts on training barefoot or with minimalist trainers? You know, Ben, sometimes someone will ask a question and I almost want to laugh out loud. Hold on. Hold on. I'm reaching down and I'm literally untying my shoe. And yes, I know how to tie them too, so don't. Okay. This is not an ad for any shoe, but this is a brand called Witten or Whiten or something like that. But this is a minimal shoe. What I'm looking for in a minimalist shoe is wide here, wide. And I finally found a shoe that was wide, minimal, light. Yeah, I love Vibram Five Fingers, but you know, come on. I mean, adults can't wear. It becomes the, you know, you show up at a wedding in your tuxedo with your Five Fingers, you're gonna get slapped by me. But yeah, I'm a big fan of minimalist shoes. The other thing I like about these shoes is that, so for years I've been traveling. I have this pair of sandals. My military friends call them my Jesus sandals or something like that, which I always find funny. But the problem with my Jesus sandals, and they're great, is they're very thick, they're very heavy. Now, what I bought them for is because they fit just like this, and so they're perfectly flat. But that's all you really can do is go to the beach, go walking on rocks with them. You can't really use them. But what's cool about these minimalist shoes is that they're also flat. But I could easily wear that to on a trip, so I can bring multiple pairs of these. When I travel, I think it's really important, Ben, to have a pair of shoes that stink. You know, that's why I like the sandals so much, because all you got to do is rinse them off with a hose and dry them out. Now, sometimes when I travel, I don't have the time. One time I was in San Diego working with the Navy down there in Coronado, and we hit the ocean, and then 24 hours later, I was in Ireland and we hit the ocean, and that was the coolest thing I've ever done. I was on the western edge of the United States, and I was on the western edge of Europe, diving in a 24-hour period, which is pretty damn cool. Sometimes they don't dry as much, and I'm sure those shoes I just showed you might not dry as well either. But I love them for travel, and I love to do walks in them. I like working out, with the caveat of this. So if I'm doing a general hypertrophy workout, minimalist shoes are good. Here's the thing though. Early getting ready for an Olympic lifting meet, I like lifting in those flat shoes because it forces my ankles, my hips, and it's going to sound even weird to say this, but my knee flexibility, whatever that means, I have to accommodate with those flats. And then as I get closer to the meet, then I put on my lifting boots with that additional heel. And I really think that helps immensely. And my lifting boots are right back there. But yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I like training barefoot. My perfect place to train is on a beach. Everyone shows up with a kettlebell. We all carry the kettlebells out. We do 300 snatches, and then we play in the ocean for an hour. And then we have a half kneeling press contest. We play frisbee. We do some goblet squats, and we hit the ocean again. And it's nice if you have plenty of food and beverage, because you know, as Jerome said, because thirst is a dangerous thing. I hope that helped, Ben. And it's again, I can't thank you guys for my 100th episode. This is 2 good questions back to back. In fact, I got to tell you, so far, these are the best questions I've ever had. It's scaring me, folks, because you know what happens when you hit the top. Okay, next question comes from Kian, C-I-A-N, Kian, I'm sorry. I have been doing your easy strength for fat loss routine for about 2 months now, and I really wish I'd have known about it 10 years ago. Kian, I'm with you. I invented the thing, and I wish I'd invented it earlier. So thank you, my friend. I've been following it closely, and it's producing results. However, I have a problem. So far in the program, I have been working from home and could easily plan my day around working out the 15-hour fast mark around 11 a.m. for me. Oh, okay, I know where this is heading. Next month, I return to office life, and it's not just feasible on weekdays for me to duck out of the office for an hour at 11 while still needing to eat lunch after that. I watch your podcast a lot, and I know you hate these questions that Seek to modify your program. Don't worry about it. However, I would like your advice on a second best variation. I can do the workout cardio either in the morning before work, probably around 10 hours fasted, or in the evenings after work after finish eating for the day. Which one will be best suboptimal? Uh, okay, I'm going to give you, I think you should try three things. First, try the idea of the traditional morning workout. Bill Pearl did that. Many of the bodybuilding greats did that. Steve Michalik did it, where you get up early in the morning, you get your workout in, and then you eat, and then you have your life. For body composition, I've heard nothing but good things. It's interesting because I was at a Perform Better, and one of the famous speakers ripped on fasted cardio, and I thought, I mean, that's fine. I get your point. But when the greatest bodybuilders in history believe in something, you gotta at least listen to them. You know, if you have the greatest Olympic lifter in world history say, don't ever do anything less than 10 reps in the squat, and you say, what does this guy know? You know, that's just that intellectual arrogance is going to get you in the wrong spot. So option number one is good. Option two, where you have a normal day, workout, and then go to bed. I know people who've done it. I tell you, man, it just swallows any social, family, normal life you have. I want to come up with one more option for you. Extend your fast to your lunch break. So skip breakfast. I mean, if you have time in the morning, I'd prefer you slept. And if you just are going to work an hour early, I mean, anybody who works a 9 to 5 job in 2021, any corporation that insists on 9 to 5, I just think is a freaking is a relic. I mean, you know, you're an archaeological dig. You're not a corporation. But I'd love it if you could get yourself into a schedule like 6 to 2 or 5 to whatever the number works out. Push that fast as long as you can. When you get off work, then get your workout. So go to work, eat your lunch, fast. You know, it's going to be 3, 4, 5 hours after lunch, whatever it is. When you get off work, you do your workout, you do your 45-minute walk, and then you eat. It'll give you a normal life. Now, it is going to be a 2-meal-a-day situation. If you decide to snack at night, make sure, which, you know, I mean, since we're extending the fast on the back end, you probably have until, about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Try to practice, if you have snacks, make sure every snack has a kimchi or a sauerkraut or a fermented food in it. And yes, I know wine and beer are fermented foods. Dan, I'm drinking all these fermented beverages and I keep putting weight on. Well, okay. This is good. That would be the option I would like you to think about if you don't mind. So fast until lunch. I mean, I hate to do this. I hate to do what. Okay, I don't like what I'm about to say, but if you did get in your walk or your weight workout in the morning before work, and then fast until noon, so you've done something, especially if you have a home gym, you've done something. Boy, that little walk I used to do on the Velocity diet, first thing in the morning, that 15 half an hour walk, that thing was a game changer for body composition. So you would be sliding into 2 workouts a day. Again, not perfect. I think you should lift and walk. I think that's what you want to do. But I think some of these other options might be okay too. Don't make it too complicated. Here's what I want you to do. You wake up, drink way too much coffee. You go to work, you fast. When you eat lunch, it is a protein, vegetable, fermented vegetable, water buffet. You're just going to shove a lot of stuff down. You're going to then go back to work. If you want to do a little walk after that, just a digestion walk, fine. And then when you get done with work, lift, walk, dinner, be a normal person. Be the best person you can be at work. Be the best person you can be at home. Be present in where you're supposed to be. And that hour a day-ish that you take in training should work. All right, I hope that helps. Thank you. We have a question from Steven. And Steven says, what would you recommend for track sprinters training for 100 meters, 200 meters, and 400 meters events with only access to kettlebells? Wow. I am in my early 30s and starting to get into competitive racing. Is there any exercise you think would help sprinters? Well, remember, sprinters sprint, so I don't want to hear about any garbage mileage you're doing. I just had a real nice discussion with a buddy of mine who's a sprinter, and we talked about the importance. That's why I think the genius of Barry Ross, who's almost been forgotten in sprinting. But when you look at his work, he was one of the few people I think who really understood quadrant 4 training, which is sprinting and powerlifting. And the other thing too is, from what I understand, it was drug-free stuff. That's another discussion for another time. The best thing you can do with a sprinter is to get them as strong as you physically possibly can. I mean, double, triple body weight deadlift, some press or pull-up variation. With kettlebells, you have a density thing. Maybe use the kettlebells for. Let's just go through the 4 things maybe that I think will help. Yeah, I think kettlebell swings might be a good option, but every set of kettlebell swings. So if you do 15 swings, always finish it with some goblet squats. So basically, the humane burpee butt blaster 5000 kind of workouts that I recommend, so that you're trying to work. So if you swing followed by goblet squat, you are working the glute in a exhausted state when you do the goblet squats. So swings followed by goblet squats. The other one would be the half kneeling press. I do think sprinters need to do pull-ups and presses. In fact, I think pull-ups for some sprinters are the best thing you can possibly do for upper body work. But the half kneeling press, because it does stretch that hip flexor, and the looser that hip flexor is, the stronger that glute is, the more you can put into the ground forces. And sprinting is just nothing but ground forces. Well, there you go. There's a pretty good program. I was going to tell you some other stuff, but a hinge variation, I would love to see you do kettlebell swings, always followed by the goblet squat and half kneeling presses. There. Let's just stop there and let's do that, and then let's make it perfect some other time. Okay? Thank you. Noah writes us, and we all know the Noah jokes, so we won't move on. I have been reading a bit about Bondarchuk's strength training as it pertains to throwing performance. Good, it's interesting stuff. Of course, as I always say when people, when you talk about Bondarchuk, I always have to ask when, what era are you talking about? Because like most coaches, he's been around so long that you are seeing, I can't remember what it's called, beta test, and there's 2.0. You're looking at 2.3000, okay? Actual method aside, much like your easy strength from what I understand, it's also based on high frequency, sub-maximal weights moved with great quality. Moved with great quality. That's the $1 million thing. I was much more interested in how throwing progress was tracked. So could you tell the program was working? And then you go down this road. I can't believe what you're doing here. Okay, Noah. Would you do an athletic performance test like a throw, a mile run, a long jump? It's better than nothing. High jump? Every week, every other week. One of the things, one of the other Soviet coaches that I have great respect for, and I'd love to work with him. Interesting enough, his name is Boris Zaychuk, and he was the first person ever to throw the hammer over 80 meters. He was born August 28th, 1947, which is fascinating because I was born August 28th, 1957. And there's a number of other great throwers that are born in this little cluster right around my birthday. So hats off to whatever happened in the last few days of August to make people love throwing. Boris Zajac did something that I think, and basically it's the same thing the Bulgarian national team did for years. And as I understand it, it's what the Chinese do, the Chinese Olympic lifters. So every day you work up to your max. What? And people just shrug. What do you mean by your max? Well, if it's a dreary, cold, lousy day, we warm up, and then I take 6 to 10 throws. We mark the best one, and that's my daily max. It's not a bad idea, by the way, to write down what that number is and include all the things like weather and if you're hungover or whatever. And then what Zajac did, and we called this the Soviet drill, is that you would pull back. Now, he was up to 10 meters, which is a long ways. 10 meters is a long ways for a thrower. But, so let's say you're a 60-meter thrower, and it's a normal day. And so you go out there and you throw 52 meters. I think marking it back to 42 might be a little bit too far, but let's just stick with it, okay? And what you then do, okay, so you warmed up, you did 6 to 10 throws, best mark, 52 meters. You then back up to 42. And then what you practice doing is see how easy you can hit 42 for maybe 30 throws. John Powell came up with a much smarter way of doing this. He puts a garbage can or maybe a towel or a frisbee. I like the garbage cans because the barrel, the plastic ones you see at most tracks in America. The thing I like about it is that it's not only a target, but as a discus thrower, we're trying to throw the discus into the bucket, okay? For shot putters, I used tires, just car tires. And probably for hammer throwers, you'd want to use a car tire. For javelin throwers, boy, you could use anything that would show you that you hit it. So you can see why I would not want something bouncy with a javelin. And if you don't understand why I don't want something bouncy with a javelin, please turn this off and never listen to me again. Thank you. So we would try to put that discus into the bucket, the shot into the tire, as easy as we could. And what happens is it's so easy that what you learn is that you have different gears, you have different tempos, you have different rhythms as a thrower. And interesting thing, if you have the time and the weather's nice, which is this time of year is fine, but not always in Utah. So we do your general warm-up. You take your 6 to 10 hard throws. You go the 10 meters back from there. You do the tire drill, the Soviet drill. And then you take a few normal throws after. And you destroy your old best marks. You destroy them. Because one of the things that we're trying to do, and this is the whole easy strength protocol, is I want your 80% to feel lighter and lighter and lighter. And the idea is this. Here's your 100%. If we nudge your 80% up, logically, aren't we nudging your 100% up? And there you go. Could you do performance tests for powerlifting, Olympic lifting, without taxing the body and nervous system on a regular basis? Well, yeah. I mean, the nice thing, you could do things like Marty Gallagher does. Okay, so Marty, he does that 12-week major ramp up. And please read Marty's book, Purposeful Primitive. And it's in Strong Medicine, but it's not as clear, I think, in Strong Medicine. Well, the roots are there for his linear training system. And then after you hit that max, then you take a month off and you focus on going for walks and eating quality food. But there is a performance test I like, and it's I didn't do this on purpose, but it comes from here. Phil Maffetone's MAF test. It's basically this. We do it here with we do this with my block. So basically you go to a normal track. I can do it around my block because it's the same. And you walk 12 laps. And at the end of every mile, at the end of every 4 laps, you click your time. You just remember your time. And there is only one rule, and the rule is this, is that your heart rate has to be 180 minus your age as the top. So, if I'm doing this test and I see myself get over 116, 117, my little heart rate monitor goes beep, 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 and I have to go slower. Okay, so we mark it at 1 mile, we mark it at 2 miles, we mark it at 3 miles. We then train normally, we come back in a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever is appropriate, and we do the exact test again. Same distance, same heart rate, but here's the thing. If you go farther, check that. If every one of your mile times is down, we can assume that something good is happening inside there. And that's the performance test I like for heart and lungs for throwers. And yeah, it is boring as sin to do that thing. I'll be honest with you. But boy, it is a game changer. The only tests I use for Olympic lifting, track and field, is how you do on the platform or in the ring. I don't care about anything else. But that's the MAF test is a nice test for, to check in on your health and longevity. Hope that helped, Noah. Thanks so much. We have a question from Mike. Mike says this: what is a realistic number of sets to push or pull the sled, regardless of the weight? That's a separate question from the follow-up here, as I can already see. Here's the thing with me. Mike, I never, ever try to repeat a loaded carry workout. I have about 20 meters in a straight line to work with, and understand that the distance covered will vary according to the weight I have on the sled. So 20 meters is probably one of the best workouts I ever did. If you only have 20 meters, you probably have to do something else, because those turnarounds, there's just going to be, well, actually, you probably could do a lot, but it comes from my friend Mitchell Cook, and he calls it Mitch's Metabolic Mayhem. You do 8 goblet squats, you put the bell down, and you push the sled. You prowler it. When you get it to the 20-meter mark, you do 8 push-ups. He had me do that 20 times, which is 160 goblet squats, 160 push-ups, and 400 meters in prowlers. I'm guessing the top end on sled work, yeah, a 400-meter day on the sled would be a lot, and that would be a lot of back and forth for you. And that's just going to be numbingly boring. But that would be about the number, okay? I hope that helps. We have a question from Peter. I have emailed you before regarding various routines such as Mass Made Simple and 1 lift a day. I have recently hooked up with a local strongman crew, and I'm looking to compete in local competitions. You often discuss how most of us fit in the quadrant 3, right? After 22, everybody. What are some of the key qualities I need to develop to be competitive as a local level within this quadrant for strongman? While we're on the subject, what strength standards should I strive for and on which key lifts? Peter, you're doing a competitive sport called strongman. It's built in. The best thing you can do is train your strongman implements. That's the best thing you can do. What I would recommend, because strongmen are sort of kind of like throwers, in the weight room, you'd probably want to do just the Olympic lifts, the power lifts, and whatever farmer walk, sled pull, prowler you can put together. If all you did was to make it even simpler, because you don't have age or anything, if you did power snatch, push jerk, so that I'm simplifying the Olympic list for you. Power snatch, push jerk, front squat. You're going to have to deadlift as a strongman. But from what I see in the strongman competitions, you don't see much horizontal pressing, so I wouldn't do it at all. So power snatch, front squat, Push jerk, I would probably push jerk after you power snatch. Uh, Deadlift, and then work on overhead press variations. And I would even throw in pull-ups just for shoulder help. So put those into a program. You could do something like easy strength. That wouldn't be terrible at all. Power snatch, 2 sets of 5. Push jerk, 3 sets of 3. Front squat, 3 sets of 3. The pull-up, whatever you can do, a total of 10 reps. So 3 sets of 3, 2 sets of 5, 5 sets of 2. And then deadlift, 3 sets of 3. And then you got to do your strongman stuff. If you're only doing the strongman implements every Saturday, for example, I just think you're going to have to. So if you do them every Saturday, you go out with your friends and you do all the strongman stuff. Sunday will have to be your hard workout day. So that's what, if now we're moving away from an easy strength approach, you go into the gym on that day. It's power snatch, push jerk, front squat, deadlift, heavy, hard, brutal. Take Monday off. Tuesday, do some kind of mobility, flexibility walk. Wednesday would have to be a training session. If all you can get in because your work schedule is power snatch, power clean, that'd be fine. Thursday maybe off. Friday, practice whatever implement you can practice at home or in the gym. And then Saturday, tune it up and do all the strongman stuff. There you go. That's about as good as I can do with the information you gave me. I hope that helps, Peter. Thank you. We have a question from Jake. Jake from State Farm. Ha! It's a good question. He says this. Are my hamstrings going to be sore for the rest of my life? I hope so. I swing the kettlebell 3 times a week or so, and my hamstrings are constantly getting blasted, with soreness persisting for a day or two. I am mentally prepared to suffer these consequences for all the benefit the swing offers, but there is a way to mitigate this hamstring soreness. I have the same issue, and here's why I think it's good to hear this, Jake. That means that you're doing swings correctly. If you're doing swings correctly, your hamstrings are sore. Dude, I find it hilarious that I've been doing this stuff. I've been Olympic lifting since, 1975, but lifting since 1965. And when I do things right, my hamstrings hurt. When I do things wrong, my back hurts. So you want this, not the other. Do this. Instead of going, woe is me about this, Jake from State Farm, what I want you to start doing is going, good for me. My hamstrings are sore. I'm doing it right. And limp proudly with your ability to swing correctly. And then we got some feedback from him. The ab wheel and glute loop are 2 contraptions worth the investment. Yeah, I know. The problem is they're so simple that people don't want to play with them. And that's just a bit of truth. I did some side steps with the loop, and 2 days later, my buns are knitted. Good. I'm a big fan of the hip thrust with the pushing the knees out mixed with clamshells, the Audis. I stopped doing all those weighted sideways walks, and I couldn't tell you why to save my life, Jake. In fact, I'm sitting here going, why did I stop doing them? I continue to use these a couple of times a week to keep everything together. Thank you so much. That is great to hear. And great questions, and congratulations on your sore hamstrings. We have a question from Sasa, or Sasa. What are your thoughts on eccentrics? Negatives. Love them. They really have value. As many strength coaches will probably agree, I hope. Marty Gallagher loves them. My only problem with eccentrics is, of course, they're so hard to measure. I remember back in the day when they were looking for the new shiny toy after isometrics, eccentrics became vogue. And the problem with them is, for many of us, it's real hard to figure out progression. And that's the issue. So yeah, I love them. I think they got great value. You you can cheat on them pretty easily, and that's tough. I know there is a machine that was made. We use that at the Olympic Training Center. I doubt they even exist anymore, where the machine pulled your deadlift. If you're holding a deadlift, it pulled you back down, and your job was to resist. Um, that was a fun little toy. Don't ever know what happened to it. All right. In the last couple of years, exercises like Nordic curls and reverse Nordic curls became very popular for injury prevention and improving performance. Um, so, do you think there is some additional value in using them with traditional fundamental exercises? Oh yeah. In fact, one of the great ways to improve pull-ups is jump up and come down as slow as you can. This was recently invented when I was in the ninth grade, and we were taught that from Mr. Freeman taught us that. So this cutting edge thing from 1971, 1972 is still true. He taught us that if you went down in pull-ups as slow as you can, you taught your body to be better at doing pull-ups. So yeah, there's still a lot of value. I still think I just think the normal rep is still the most valuable because you get the most feedback from it. How many how many reps you got? 11, 12. And that's easier to put into a journal, easier to measure over time. But there is an absolutely great role for negative eccentric training, of course. Of course, as always, the problem comes in the recipe, I guess. That's where the issue is, getting it right. Hey, good question. Thank you. Jeremy asks. Jeremy says, easy strength with the Olympic lifts is an absolute joy. Good. I have been doing the movements as part of my daily get moving routine. Do the lifts, walk the pups, start the day. Do the lifts, walk the dog, start the day. That's pretty good. Turn that into a t-shirt. Yeah. I'll admit my implementation is easy breezy strength as the program duration is stretched and the loads are light and climb slowly. Yeah. So Jeremy found a program that works really well for him, so he'd like to change it. How unusual. Lately, I've been thinking about rotating in something like the Southwood program, as it has the same simple feel to it. What should I be considering when applying these programs in sort of a perpetual format? Are there similar programs I should experiment with? Oh, that's really interesting. So basically what you want to do is you want to find, a few, doable things to do the rest of your life. I've already mentioned Marty today, but you know what? Easy strength for Olympic lifting for fat loss is basically what it sounds like you're doing. So maybe do the Southwood program followed by walk and the problem with being an adult, Jeremy, and doing the Southwood program, it only works for 3 to 6 weeks, and then you'll just get stale on it. But for 3 weeks, no problem at all. Here's another idea I'd like you to think about, is maybe slide yourself into a bit of a Marty Gallagher powerlifting program. Maybe scurry out, shave out, carve out. I was going to tell you 12 weeks, but that's 3 months. But, once a year, once every 2 years, doing a 3-month powerlifting program, Marty Gallagher style. So the first couple of weeks is sets of 8, then you go to sets of 5, then you go to sets of 3, then you go to sets of 2, then you go to 1, and then pick this magical day where you max. That would be and oh, by the way, though, Marty also recommends the walking program. Read his book, Strong Medicine. And if you're on the site, I have something at Dan John University where you can go in and you can get that original thing where he explains it. But he also has this idea. So you're doing the 3 lifts a week, but he also has a 4-day-a-week walking program. And maybe you start off day 1, week 1, it's a 12-minute walk. Day 2 is a 13-minute walk. Day 4 is 14, and then you continue to increase the amount of walking minutes you do with occasional drop-offs, for the natural. Boy, that would be really a fun idea. I haven't done it, so this is just me spitballing, but I think it's a pretty good idea. So, hey, try it and let me know how it goes. Hey, that's it. That's all the questions for today. So that's episode 100. And what's cool about that is like we had the best and brightest questions I think we've had in total, since we started doing this. Remember, if you want everything, you can go to Patreon, Coach Dan John. But the easiest way is just join Dan John University. Now, we now have 3 courses there. We have one on goal setting, we have one on programming, we have one on easy strength, and a lot of the questions still are coming in are easy strength. Very soon, and maybe by the time you hear this, we'll have Easy Strength 2. We'll have a hinge and squat program, which will be free to the members of the university. Thanks for all your support. Remember, if you have questions, it will be funny sometimes on the YouTube channel say, where do I ask questions? And it's like, dude, why don't you just listen to the podcast? Podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. I'll do my best to answer each and every one. If they're intelligent questions, I'll even get excited and want to do this more so that we get up to 200 episodes of the danjohnuniversity.com podcast. Hey, thanks so much. We'll see you all on the other side. Bye-bye.